Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday, a happy Martin Luther King Day. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early. Not so bright and early. It's 7 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I just got back from a walk and I was inspired while I was out on my walk. I got this idea for this video. Sometimes I like to do videos. Well, a lot of times I like to do videos where I talk about everyday occurrences that almost all of us go through. Everybody going through these same everyday occurrences. And for the most part, like what I'm going to talk about today, we can be divided into two distinct groups, really. I think for what I'm going to talk about today, you can basically be just divided into two different kinds of people. All right, what am I talking about? Like I said, I think everybody has gone through this. Yeah, a crowded intersection or a parking lot. Either you're the person crossing or maybe you're in your car. But there's two kinds of people. There's the kind of people that see traffic coming and walk, just take their sweet time, crossing in front of cars. They don't like the cars aren't there. They're just going to take their sweet time. They're not going to speed up. They don't care. They're not going to be influenced by people having to drive by or being in the middle of traffic. Then there's people like me, people that are hustling along, people that when you see, you're just usually, even if traffic isn't coming, I'm hustling. You can tell by the way I talk, I'm inspired, I'm motivated, I'm a little high strung. And this is since I become clean and sober. But I want to talk about this a little more. There's two kinds of people crossing traffic. The people that take their sweet time. They do not rush. They do not hurry if people are waiting on them. And then there's the other people that will hustle to get out of traffic and let everybody go about their business. Faster the better. That's me. All right, what made me think about doing this video? There's two instances just in the last week that made me think about doing this video. The second one I'll talk about after. It was me and my mom crossing a parking lot. The first one I'm going to talk about now. This was just a few days ago. I think it was on Friday. It was a school day. I was pulling out of my parking lot here, and I wasn't going very fast. I just pulled out. And there was a young boy, I would say 10 to 12 years old. And just as I turned to go down the street, he starts crossing, coming off the sidewalk on the other side. And so I slow down. And this guy, he sees me. Just, did he? And not only that, but he doesn't go straight across. He starts going on an angle so that he's out in the road longer. As he's crossing into the lane of traffic I'm in, he starts going on an angle so that he stays in the road a little longer. And I'm not angry. I wasn't angry at all, but it just made me think. It really, stuff like this makes me wonder. And this is, for videos like this, if it happens to me, I'm sure it happens to you guys, and you guys must have an opinion on this. You must be one of the two groups. All right, let me talk about this kid first. So I'm thinking, when I was younger, my parents told me, you look left, look right, look left, and I'm thinking, where at this age, where would he learn this behavior? It has to be, it really seems like a learned behavior, especially, taking a little extra time crossing in front of me. And, and I have to wonder if it's something he picked up from his parents, or if it's something he might have picked up from his friends. But I'm really thinking it's something he picked up from his parents. So I'll get into how I figure this psychologically. I'm no doctor, but I'll get into that in a second. Now, me and my mother, I took my mother out once a week. I try to take mom out for Dunkin' Donuts and some coffee. This is one of my greatest joys in life now that I've been clean and sober. It's a blessing being able to spend time with my family, being clean and sober. All right. So we're crossing a parking lot and there's cars coming by. And I just naturally start hustling a little bit. Now my mother is going to be 80 years old, so I start hustling, and then I realize my mom, and I look over, I don't want to leave my mother in the middle of traffic. And I look over and she's hustling too, So once we get to the other side, I stop and I say, Mom, Mom, I'm sorry. I apologize to her. It's like, I didn't mean to, leave you, I started hustling across the street. I didn't mean to make you run, because God forbid, if she tripped and fell or, something like that, going on 80 years old. She's, fit and spry, but still. And I felt kind of bad for making her hustle across the street. She says to me, she says, Daryl, nobody makes me do what I don't want to do. So God bless my mom. All right, so anyway, I started trying, this is one of my favorite things, empathy, trying to put myself, why do people do this? It doesn't necessarily make me angry, but why do people do this? Why do people do what they do? I started thinking about my view on this. And, everybody, this is my view, it's more of a society. But we're working like a big machine. And, we're all cogs, we're all gears meshing together. People going about their business, going to work, going to visit their grandmother, going to, whatever, every day. And, I'm going someplace, somebody else is going someplace, and we cross paths, and it's just a well-oiled machine. I just see it that way. I hustle. It's not just getting out of traffic, but it's me just hustling along to where I got to go. It reminds me too of like people, if there's 2 lanes of traffic going up a hill and it merges into one. There's people like me that will just get in the line and wait for the line to progress. And then there's the people that speed up on the outside and then try to duck in at the very last minute, which just makes everybody else waiting. It's really the cause of the whole problem. It's causing the gears to not mesh. And that's the way I look at it here. I try not to get angry at it, anymore. There was a time when I pull up to the bumper in front of me and I'm not letting them in, till you actually start getting into a road rage incident or something. I let the person in, and I just look at it this way. Fate is going to let me get to my destination whenever I get there. Maybe it's a blessing that I don't get there 1 second earlier. Maybe I'm avoiding a traffic accident. That's, I just look at it that way. Now I try to look at it from the other people's point of view. The people that take their sweet time crossing the road, why do they do that? And I don't, I think in their head, they're thinking that they're not going to be influenced. They're going to go about their business at their own pace. They're not going to be pushed. So I guess I have a hard time figuring this out. But what I really believe, I'm not a psychologist or anything, I'm not a doctor, but if I really, you look at their faces, to me, it's more trouble than it's actually worth. Taking my sweet time crossing the road. It's going to make me, it's going to slow me down to get to wherever I'm going. I'm not hustling anymore. It's going to leave me out in traffic where I could, it's more dangerous being standing out in traffic. And just my mental state, the anxiety of just trying to walk slowly through the middle of an intersection, it would just, it would be more trouble than it's worth. So I started thinking, it almost seems like a fragile self-image, or maybe, I hate to say this, but maybe low self-esteem. Because it really seems like it's the person, the people are, it's looking at, it seems like they're putting themselves like pedestrian against motor vehicles. Like this is what I think. I think that for some reason they look at themselves as they might be as a lower class because they're not in a motor vehicle, so they have just as much right, as the person in the car to take their sweet time. They have just as much right to be out in the middle of that road as the guy in the car. I don't know. I'm guessing here, but if you look at the faces, the face of somebody like this, it really seems like they have this stubborn look on their face, almost like they're daring you to get mad, like, oh yeah, and it seems vindictive, like, it's just out of the blue. Why would somebody do that to somebody else? I have a hard time understanding that. And like I said, to me, it seems like it's more trouble than it's worth. It's actually causing me more anxiety and slowing me down in my whole trip. So there it is. That's my reasoning here. Like I said, I really wondered about the 10-year-old kid, where he picked this up from. My parents told me to, cross carefully. And are some parents actually telling their kids, take your time, or are they just, emulating their parents' behavior, or are their parents actually teaching them to lollygag in the middle of an intersection just to spite people in cars? I don't know. These are the things I wonder about. Let me know in the comments. Which one are you? Divide these people up. And we're not talking about, for the sake of this argument, We're talking about just for the sake of this argument, we're talking about able-bodied people. We're not talking about carrying your groceries or somebody pushing a baby carriage, a mother with her family crossing the street, an elderly person with a walker. We're not talking about that. Just for the sake of this argument, we're talking about able-bodied people. Do you lollygag? And why do you do it? Or do you hustle? Or are you somewhere in the middle? Let me know what you think. Have a good Monday. Have a great Martin Luther King Day.